Do you recall how many times in your life people have given you unsolicited advice, criticism, or feedback? Do you ever recall seeking out the feedback from them? How about your response? Was it anything like this? Did I ask? So think about what this question means to you. Did I ask? While we roll the intro. Welcome to another episode of Project Dream Mastery. My name is Lucas Johnson.
And I'm Patryk Labuzek.
Over the weekend, I was listening to a sermon by Stephen and Holly Furtick from Elevation Church by the title of Did I Ask? Now, that is up there. Did I ask? You might be thinking, did I ask? It's a real great question, but it was absolutely eye-opening and truly inspiring. I know that you might be in a position right now where you are trying to figure out life, maybe even in a state of depression. Or maybe you were at an all-time high, but are about to hit a valley. We've been there. We've all been there. It's a struggle and a half. But what you'll find in this episode is a way to find the answer you so deeply desire. If you are driving, focus on the road and listen to the words as they come in. If you are working, open a notepad and jot down your thoughts as you take in this episode. As we promise, it's going to be really great with a lot of value. But most importantly, open your heart and brain to the new possibilities that will be unlocked.
Lucas, what is the big question for today? And simply, what is the response?
Did I ask? Did I ask?
Did you ask?
What do you mean, did I ask? I mean, man, we get stuck so many times in our life with people constantly asking us questions without even knowing. You know, we get put in a position where we want to respond. We do respond. We give that unsolicited feedback. We give that criticism. Whereas most people like to say that it's constructive criticism, constructive feedback. We do it. And it's really, really unique to see how that plays on your life. So did I ask? Patryk, did I ask for your feedback? Did I ask for your criticism? Did I ask, or did you just give? Do you give?
Yeah, it's a good question to ask. And I feel like I recall myself plenty of times when somebody given me that constructive criticism or whatnot. And, at the back of my head, I'm thinking, did I actually ask for this? Or, people throw something at you, whether it's positive or negative. And it's like, did I ask for that? And so the whole notion of this question is very, very powerful.
But when you get that feedback, you know what happens? You simmer on it. I know I do. I sit there and I think, okay, I got that unsolicited feedback. Now what am I going to do with it? Because obviously I heard it. It doesn't just go in one ear and go out the other. It simmers. I hold grudges. I hold grudges. I don't know about you, Patty, but I hold grudges occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's injected into you, you know what I mean? Like an injection straight into your brain, and then you linger upon it. And I mean, could be positive or negative.
But it's funny though. It starts with a question. Did I ask? You could be doing anything in your life right now. You might be driving. You might be working. And there could be someone sitting next to you and they could be criticizing your driving. Why didn't you put your turn signal on? Why didn't you merge in that lane properly? Why did you hit the brakes so hard? Did I ask? Did I ask for your feedback? Did I ask for what you had to say? The question opened the door. Did I ask? It opened the door to new possibilities. And I opened the door to the people that, you need to eliminate the yes or no's. They get the feedback that you truly want. For example, when you go on a dinner date or you go on a date or you're about to ask someone, it's not, do you want to go on a date on me or go on a date with me? And that's a yes or no. No, it's lunch or dinner. And too many times in life, we get stuck with the yes or no's and we forget to be so straight, so honest. Lunch or dinner. It's already happening. Patty, when I say to you, hey man, do you want to get lunch or dinner? I didn't give you a choice to say, hey, I'm busy. I said, are we going to lunch or are we going to dinner?
It's a concrete question with a concrete answer. And there's no middle ground. You either say lunch or dinner. That's it.
Think about that in your work life right now, since we're talking about work. You don't get a choice when it comes time to your boss, right? So your boss says to do something, and it's like lunch or dinner. What are you doing? You're doing it, right? What goes through your brain? Your boss didn't ask for your feedback. But you have to be vocal too sometimes, right? If you aren't vocal, how will your boss know what's going on in your life? Patty, so I'm asking you is when is the right time to speak up, even though someone didn't ask? The big one, right? It makes you think.
It's a big one. And from my own personal experience, I feel sometimes, most of the time actually, it's better to be silent than say something, But there are situations where we do have to be vocal. Our voice has to be heard. We have the right to express our opinion. And sometimes we just have to do it. And it can be difficult. But nevertheless, concrete facts, concrete answers, that's the way of all successful people. That's the way we all should be thinking. That's a mindset in itself. There's no going around in circles. It's always going forward. It's either taking that direction or that direction. So
I think of us as consultants. As in consulting, you are giving the client an answer. And it doesn't always mean that it's spot on. It's usually backed by some sort of industry leading practice or standard. It's usually based on prior experiences with other clients. I think of us in life as we're all consultants. If we aren't vocal and we don't have confidence in what we believe in, then we get lost. People don't believe us. It goes back to the episode we talked about imposter syndrome. You don't believe yourself. You're worried that people won't take you in and accept you. We're all consultants.
See, I find this very funny and interesting at the same time because I feel like we're all engineers, or we should be the engineers of our own life. And what's interesting and funny about it is I'm an engineer, and that's what I think. You're a consultant, and you have a different view. And what you're saying, we're all being consultants, is definitely true. But I as well like to think that we're all engineers, or we should strive to be engineers.
Can we be both?
An engineering consultant.
Can we be both, though? I mean, a lifestyle engineer and a consultant, what do they have in common? They're both confident as hell in what they have to offer. They're both confident in what they're about to say. Yeah. Engineers, they do things 20 times over, like you. You're going to a computer scientist, and you want, if your stuff's off, what happens? Things break. Things stop working. And consulting, things stop working. People come to you for a solution.
Well, that's exactly it. People for consultants, they come with a question and you're trying to answer it. Same as with engineering. People come with a question. We need something to solve a problem. We have to fix that. So can an engineering consultant exists? Can we merge those two disciplines into our lives? Definitely. Definitely, I think we all should strive to. Let me go back to engineering. We should all strive to engineer our lives. Optimize our time. And that goes back to all the previous episodes we've talked about different topics about, like, optimize our time, engineer our life, to move forward, to develop, to have our minds open to develop, to go outside the boundaries. Because as an engineer and as a consultant, you have to think outside the box.
You're framing your life by allowing people into your life that know what they're doing. They know something about a specific subject. And the best part about it, Patty, is the two things that those two jobs have in common, the consultant and an engineer, is they're both really good at finding solutions and providing quote unquote answers. It might not always be the best solution. It might not always be the best answer, but in the period of time, they're leveraging the resources they have, leveraging the information and experiences that they have to come up with the best logical solution and most rational choice for you in that moment. So going back to our topic, did I ask? What's really cool is the people that surround you. Think of them as coaches, engineers and consultants. They're coaching you to get to the point you are in your life. They're allowing you to find and provide a solution to the problem that you need, the problem that you have. So for all coaches, sometimes people aren't asking the right question to the right people. So when they say, did I ask? Or maybe they say it in their head, did I ask? Those people around them are supplying them with the information that they need to make the most logical choice, the most rational choice. They're providing an answer, a solution. They're making things happen for them. And they may not know it in the moment. That thing might take a while, might allow them to simmer. But if you take time and analyze and simmer on what they just said, you might find yourself at a better point than you were just 5 minutes or an hour ago or a day ago. So what do engineers and consultants have in common? They solve problems. They provide solutions. They answer that question, did I ask? And Patty, are you willing to accept the fact that we all have that in common? We're all coaches. We all know our stuff. Because I know that I wasn't willing to accept it for the longest time. And then I started looking at the people that are professional athletes, CEOs, even military service and so forth, looking at some of the guests we had in our life. They're coaching. They're coaching us. They have coaches. They have mentors. Even the best have coaches. That's when I was willing to accept it.
Well, I feel like you spotted it out. We're all coaches. Whether we ask ourselves that question and answer it, are we a coach? Am I a coach? Are you a coach? Well, the answer is simple. Yes, you are. You're a coach to maybe your little sibling, your cousin. You could be a coach to, any member of your family. You could be a coach to your best friend. You know what I mean? So yeah, like we are all coaches to, bigger or smaller extent. But the answer is yes, we are.
Through our business coaching team, me and you provide exceptional coaching to our clients, and through our services, we offer solutions. We answer problems. And I think one of the things I heard from that sermon that I was talking about when we first started this episode is sometimes God will give you something that you didn't even ask for through someone you didn't even think to ask. It's crazy, right? You don't think to ask the people that are right in front of you or the people that you would consider a peer. You don't think to ask them because you get caught up in your own thoughts. You get caught up in your own moments. You get caught up with you, which is okay. But Patty, both of us sometimes take a step back to think about the things that we need to get through to get to our next milestone in life. So what can we do to find those people that are taking the step back from us? What can we do to find those ones that are going to answer those questions or provide the solution we need to the question, did I ask? How do you approach that?
People like that, I suppose, would align. You know what I mean? You just know when you met the right person to ask the right question. If you ask a question and somebody, if you don't get an answer, it's simply that question or that person doesn't know the answer to. And that's okay. We don't all have to be experts at whatever it is the question is about. We don't have to be experts. But I feel like if we ask a question, and it is important to ask questions, don't get me wrong. I mean, by asking questions, asking questions brought us where we are today, Lucas, if you think about it. Asking, well, maybe not always the right questions, but with a bit of luck, they were. And that asking them questions gave us an answers that allow us to be here right now in this very moment. Like, again, I'm gonna go back to when we went to Australia. I mean, if you didn't ask the question, can I even go on an international exchange? You wouldn't have gone to Australia. We wouldn't have met. We wouldn't have gone to crazy adventures, created content, and so forth. It's an avalanche effect. So asking questions is always, always important. That's how we learn. That's how we develop. We can listen to our mentors. We ask them questions to find a solution to our problem. That's basically what it is.
Something you said, well, two of the things you said there. One is the part about us not knowing everything, not being experts. You know, we're not all subject matter experts. We aren't. We don't know everything. But you know what the best part about being someone that isn't a subject matter expert? Think about how those CEOs, as founders of businesses, how they were when they first got started. They weren't experts.
No, not at all.
Everyone has to start somewhere to get to where they are. And even if you think that you don't have the knowledge to be successful or that you can't take your business to that next level, think about how those other businesses got to where they are. They started with nothing. They started with some knowledge, and they leveraged their intellect, they leveraged their abilities, they leveraged their network, they leveraged their people, they leveraged their coaches, they leveraged their engineers, they leveraged their consultants to find the answers and solutions to skyrocket their business.
Well, first of all, they ask the questions, either to others or asking questions to themselves. Can I do it? What will it take for me to do it? And it's putting that unbelievable amount of energy to create a company before asking questions to the consultants and bring on board engineers and all that kind of stuff. Like, it took a lot of energy to start off. It took a certain person, and there's no denying that every CEO is successful. Why are they successful? Because they've put the time. They've put an unbelievable amount of energy. Like, you wouldn't even be able to count it. How much hours they've spent on a single subject. How much hours they spent to master a single subject. So, you know.
Think about how much unsolicited feedback they received along the way that helped them, or maybe didn't help them get to where they are today. Question comes back to, did I ask? It's powerful, man. I think one of the other points you made was how we got to where we are today. The path is not always straight and narrow. The path sometimes is curved, bendy, hills and valleys, mountains, a lot of the times. In fact, there is more roadblocks, more obstacles and challenges along that route than we want to admit. But those challenges, those roadblocks, those obstacles, they make us better. They teach us. We find answers that we didn't even know we needed or wanted along that route. And Patty, it's unbelievable how we are here today, because our path was not straight and narrow. I was not supposed to be at that place in that time during that period of my life. Neither were you. We had different times that we were going to be there, different places. And somehow, some way, we asked the right questions and we got to where we are. People provided that insight. People provided feedback. We simmered on it and got us to where we are. The details came after the decision. The details came after the decision. We made a decision to travel. The details came along the way.
That's a very good way of putting it. Especially with our travel adventures, the detail always comes afterwards.
It's really, I think, really kind of amazing to see where we go in our lives by not asking questions. We recently brought on a new team member, and we're super excited, and a new partner onto our, as part of Coachington, as part of Project Dream Mastery. And he asked the right questions. He asks the questions that we weren't necessarily prepared for. But by getting asked those questions, by having those questions raised, even though sometimes you can't answer them in the moment, or did you say, did I ask? You learn from his lessons, from his questions, from his statements. More has been happening over the last few weeks than I think some of us could ever dream. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. And I know that if you're listening right now, what's going on in your life? Who's impacting you? Who's asking the right questions? And are you providing feedback? Are you being vocal? Sometimes God will give you something that you didn't ask for. There's someone you didn't even think to ask. Going back to that. Take a stab out in the dark. Take a stab out in the blue and go up to a stranger and maybe get a different perspective. Patty, when you decided to move to your new house, your new place, moving out of your parents, even whenever you traveled to a new country and you decided to live in China for a year and you decided to live in Australia for 6 and you did this and that, who did you ask? Who gave you the questions or feedback that you needed to get through and find where you wanted to be in your life? Even where you are now, that's a huge leaps and bounds.
Yeah, gigantic leaps. And all of them impacted the way I live, obviously. And who did I ask? Very, very good question. I always aim to ask the smartest people out there at the given time that I know, of course. So when it came to Australia, I mean, it's a very long question, right? Because everything followed after Australia. Everything that I'm doing now, everything that I will be doing, it all followed after I went to Australia. So this has been Australia had a gigantic impact on my life. There's no denying that. The biggest. And I'm happy that I can see it, that it was, and take action from it, from all the lessons that I've learned while being there. But going back to your question, who did I ask? Well, I asked the question of, can I travel while studying before I actually started college? So I asked that to my cousins who are much older than me, 10, 15 years at times. What can I look up to, when starting college? They were like, definitely do an international exchange. You'll meet people, you'll start networking. You'll go to a new place, new cultures, new traditions, completely different environment. And it's eye-opening. It pushes you outside your boundaries. You're starting to think outside the box. And I needed that as a CEO of that time of my own company, or CEO, I should say. It was a small company, but, I needed a title. The title had to be on the paper. That's what it was. Anyway, and they told me international exchange. So this answer led me to choose my college of choice. I looked at which college, which university is going to give me the biggest opportunity to travel abroad. And it was the University College Dublin. And I worked hard to get there. And so I did. And from the start, in first year, I always knew I want to go to Australia. Because why? It was the farthest place on earth I could travel to. Physically, the farthest place away. And
get up and get out, right?
That was a challenge. I wanted to challenge myself. And I did. And I got there. And it was rewarding. So, that those were the people that I asked first off. And I made my choices based on their answer. And afterwards, I feel like I've just been asking the right questions to the right people. And I am where I am now. I've got a long way to go, but I'm happy with what I have. And honestly, I mean, this show, listening back to it, answers a lot of my questions. Listening to what I have to say, from our first episode to now, maybe my view has shifted, but it has shifted because you are asking the right questions. Our viewers are asking the right questions. Our guest speakers that come on the show, they ask us the right questions.
It also makes me think we are answering when we should be asking. As a kid, you learn more as a kid than as you grow up because you stop asking and start assuming. And that's one of the things that Stephen Furtick said is we were answering when you should be asking. You learn more as a kid than as you grow up because you stop asking and start assuming. We don't ask enough questions because we assume we already know the answer. We don't ask because we already know the answer. Not assume. We think we already know the answer. And how many times are we wrong? 9 out of 10 times we're wrong. Even whenever I go down to see my niece and my nephews, as an adult, I still think we're always growing. I like to think we're all giant kids because we're always learning. And if we are giant kids, that means we're asking the right questions and we aren't assuming. We aren't answering. We're listening, trying to find that new perspective. And our show, our podcast that we put together here starting in July of 2020 was a dream. And it's funny that we're almost a year, 8 months into it. And we have had a chance to impact lives. And if you're listening right now, we hope that what we're saying to you is hopefully make an impact on you. We want you to know that we are here to support you in your times of hardship, but we're also here to support you in your times of triumph. And if that means that you want to connect one-on-one, feel free to reach out to us on our socials at Project Dream Mastery. Feel free to check out some of our courses and one-on-one coaching that we have. It's really amazing that if you start asking the right questions or you start posing the right statements, you might find the right answer. Be the engineer, be the consultant of your life. We go through these points where we don't want to ask because we already know the answer, right? We know the answer to the question, so we don't ask it. Do you ever get stuck in that thought process? We already know the answer, so we're not going to ask.
Yeah, completely. And I'm trying to reverse engineer that because I feel like we all should be like a sponge, if you can imagine it. Imagine a sponge. A sponge takes in all the water. Think about that. It takes in all the water, the sponge.
Yeah, it does. But
right?
If you squeeze it too tight, it releases that back into the world. It's amazing, right?
It's incredible. And that's how our brain should work. We should take in as much knowledge as possible. And the only way we can get that knowledge in there is by asking questions.
What you just said right there is like, wow, okay, we are, if we're all sponges, we're taking in all that knowledge. And if you get squeezed it tight enough, you get enough knowledge in there, you can put that right back into the world. You become an expert. Not an expert, you become a coach. You become a consultant. You become an engineer. That's great. That's a crazy concept. Yeah. Yeah, we are all sponges.
That's what I like to think.
When you get stuck in those points in time where you think that you know the answer, so you don't ask, what happens? Where's the reality check? Because for some reason, the truth always seems to come back around and it hits you.
In my case, the reality check is usually a few hours later. Few hard hours later, where I should have asked the question rather than assuming that I know the answer. And I'm not gonna assume that it's in everybody's case, but in my case, and I like to think that I do not have an ego. But it all goes down to our egos. Think about it. Why don't you ask a question? Because you feel like you know the answer to. You feel that you're smart enough that you don't need to ask the question. And that's just fueling our ego, right?
Sometimes we get stuck in a prison, buddy.
Yeah.
We get stuck in our own prison where we just don't know.
Completely.
What we don't know. Y'all are familiar with my journey of weight loss and kind of self-discovery over the last year. And I'll be real quick on this because we've talked about it previously in a couple episodes about how it's impacted my life. But I want you to think about this. When you have that moment where you think you know the answer, don't let it stop you from finding greatness. Don't let it stop you from finding another solution. Because when you stop and you take a minute to learn and reflect, you'll see that maybe that's not the right answer. You'll see that there's so much more, so much greatness, and what you thought was right might have been way off. For example, Patty, for the longest time, I did diet after diet, yo-yo effect after yo-yo effect, up and down the ladder. And it never changed. I would look in the mirror one day and be like, damn, I look good. I look real good. And then the next day I would look and be like, yeah, man, you look big. You need to get back on the yo-yo. So my parents for the longest time would say, hey, you're like a yo-yo. You go up and down, and that's kind of just how you are. And the reason why I was like that is because I started restricting myself down to these 1,100 to 1,800 calorie diets that were mostly protein and very little carbs. I thought that was the way. That's how I was taught. That's how I watched all these people, all these celebrities, these gurus, and all these people that are famous doing. And I finally, in March of 2019, or March of 2020, sorry, May of 2019, I was 272 pounds roughly. And March 2020, I looked and I said, wow, what I was doing over the last few months of trying to lose weight. Yes, I lost 30 pounds. It was on like 240. But I was doing something that I knew wasn't healthy. I knew something wasn't right. It was in March that I truly decided to find something, a nutritionist, something that could change my life, change my perspective, change my vision for my future. And what did I do? I learned that someone else has the knowledge. They can engineer and consult me in my own way. They're my coach. They're going to take me to that next level. I started eating double what I was eating previously. I started eating 3,000 calories. And anyone in their right mind thinks, all right, I'm going to bulk up if I keep doing that. I'm going to bulk up. I'm going to get bigger. No. You know the history. You know the story. I'm now down to 170 pounds since I started that. So I've lost 70 pounds with the nutritionist and doing what they told me to do in the program. G-Plan's absolutely amazing, by the way, if you're interested. But I want you to know that if you take that step back to reflect and learn, you'll be amazed at what you can find. And Patty, I learned so much from you every single day that we have our chats, every single time we get on a podcast and put our word out into the world. We learn from each other, and you need to find those people in your life that bring synergy, that bring that element of surprise and self-reflection and self-discovery, and that allow you to find the things that you so desperately want. Danny, what do you want? What do you want right now in your life, man? What is something that you think about every single day that you're burning to put out in the world, what you're burning to do? 2021, what are you going to do to be?
Oh my God, there's so many things. I could go on and list them all one by one, and we would never finish this episode. Really, just because I can see a constant room for improvement. I can see constantly that I need something else, and I'm reaching for it. So, there's so many things, but the biggest, right? If I can even say this is the biggest thing, because I put them down on an equal weight, is to do what I love to do every day, every minute of my life. That is, when I'm working, I want to love my work. And then I'm relaxing, I want to love that minute of relaxing. And so it's constantly, asking myself question, what is it that you like to do? And do it.
If you know where to go, it will always be enough. But if you don't know where to go, you'll meet your needs worse than it will in the end. So you know where to go, man. You know how to get there. But if you don't know how to get there, what are you going to do? You're going to find people in your life that can help and provoke those questions, provoke those thoughts. And you're going to say, when they do, when I say something that you don't want to hear, what are you going to say? did I ask? And I'm going to be like, well, buddy, you need to hear it. Refer back to episode 25 of Project Dream Mastery. So, Patty, you have as many dreams as I do and as many dreams as our listeners do. But what's one that you're doing right now in your life? What is your thought process to make it a reality? How are you enabling yourself to be successful? How are you empowering yourself
to be successful? Man, it all goes down to learning. I mean, without learning, we can't be successful. So the biggest thing is for me to learn, to develop, always, constantly, from minute to minute. That's the biggest thing that pushes me towards all my dreams. And then I get new dreams because I have accomplished something. I'm like, man, I can do so much more. So much more. And the only thing stopping myself is my own head, I think we talked about this in the last episode. Our head is sometimes our biggest enemy. And we're stuck in a jail, like you said in this episode. And that jail is our head. And so we need to learn to unlock those doors. Ask questions. Ask smart people. They don't have to have a PhD in psychology or whatever it is. Your mom can be a coach. Your dad is a coach to you all your life. And they've got experience. They've got lives of experience. I mean, I asked my cousins, and by that I made a choice to go to Australia. You know what I mean? A simple thing as that. Asking a cousin. I mean, they are PhDs and man, they have their masters and all that kind of stuff. But at that time they didn't. So ask the right questions.
It's funny how people come and go, but how they leave an impact on your life along the way. And if you allow yourself to ask those questions, you allow yourself to go back to be a coach and also allow those people to coach you, you'll find yourself with the answers you so desire, you so seek. Sometimes it's just taking that step back to allow those people to come in your life, leave an impact, and move on. I go through my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, my contacts, my messages, my phone log, everything at the beginning of each year. Some people start that year on their birthday. Others started on January 1 of that new year. And it's funny how many people go and eliminate those people from their life. They go and eliminate. When I say eliminate, I say completely just delete their contacts, delete them from their social media and so forth. It's funny how people do that. But one thing that we are preaching in Project Dream Mastery and Coachington is the power of a relationship. Why delete someone from your life? Delete. We're in a 2020 thought process, 2021 thought process. We're in a 20th century. I don't even know where we are right now. Let's be real. We're at a point where we can look at our calendar and we know everything's right there in front of us. We got our messages, we got our phone log, we got everything in front of us. Our social media is instantaneous. Back in the day, I remember sitting and having a phone that was attached to a wall with a cord, a landline. Then it became wireless and people would call on that. And then all of a sudden we're getting these cell phones. And I'm thinking to myself, over the years, how nice it was to have that relief that I wasn't going to be connected to the people all the time. They had to go through that to get to me. And now, in a snap of a finger, you have a message in your inbox, you have a message in your phone, you have a call waiting. So sometimes you just got to ask yourself, did I ask? Why am I deleting those people from my life? Why am I cutting out that person? Because those people could be those people in your life that you need to hear from. Did I ask? Those people could be the ones that you need to ask, or the people that might provide the answer that you're so desperately looking for. So why are you taking that new year, new me kind of approach and removing people from your life? Even if they might be negative, even if they might not be the right people to surround yourself in your tribe, those people could offer you a new perspective that you didn't even know existed until they brought it into the picture.
Well, you see, Lucas, and I'll jump right in. I feel like all this happens, that what you mentioned, the 20th century perspective, mindset, is that it goes down to one word. Everything being instantaneous. Instantaneous. You connect instantaneously. You know what I mean? Straight away. It takes milliseconds. You send that friend request, they accept it. And if you analyze that process, right? Everything being so quick and a click of a button. And then in New Year, right? Whether it's a birthday or whether 1st January, you delete those contacts, you delete those people from your life at a click of a button. Whereas previously, you make a relationship, you had to connect, truly connect. You had to make an effort to go to a phone booth, which might not be even in your town, to reach out to this person, send a mail, send a post, a letter. You have to write this down. It takes your time. And I feel like people appreciated those contacts way more than now. And deleting is a trend. You delete them, right? But is it right? Deleting a person, deleting a connection between a human and a human, whether it's positive or negative, we've got something to learn. We learned something from that relationship, whether it was negative or bad, or negative or positive, I meant to say. We learn. Why do we delete them?
We aren't robots, like you're saying. Yeah, we are. And that's a good hypothetical. Why do we delete the people from our life? We aren't ones and zeros. We are human beings. And just because you're instantaneous and you can connect with that person in a flick of a finger doesn't mean that it's right to remove them from your consciousness, or remove them from your life, to remove them from your hypothetical delete mode. They're still there. They're not going anywhere. I mean, I go through and unfollow people on my Instagram, and it's not because I don't want them in my life. It's because I want to have people that I'm connecting with on my social media, engaging with. I want to be able to know that relationship's still alive. Now, my phone log, I don't delete anyone. I have like 6,000 contacts over the years that I've put in there, like from my parents, all their contact lists somehow got merged with mine. And then, and then it's just grown from building relationships over the years, LinkedIn, and, people wanting to build and build and build. And when people call and I don't have the number, I know that's a new contact coming into my life that might just bring something new. Most of the time it's just spam. So who's spamming me? Does spam make me ask the right questions too? Did I ask? Why the hell are you contacting me? What did I do to deserve this? Patty, I knew we were getting at that time where it's bringing such a great topic to an end. So maybe we'll have a part 2 to this. But sometimes as people make you realize that your identity might be in jeopardy, that you might be in a point in your life where you just need to reevaluate the higher picture. Has someone stolen your identity, or have you taken a step back to not ask the right questions to find out who you are? So in the next episode, we'll be talking about finding your identity and seeing if it really has been stolen, or if someone has really impacted you along the way to create someone that you're not proud of or happy with. With that, Penny, you have anything you want to give them for our end of the week, our episode homework for today? I know it's something we always like to leave, at least thought-wise.
Yeah. Read, learn. We learn by reading. Ask yourself, you don't have to ask questions to other people. Ask yourself a question. Pose yourself a question and try to find an answer within a week. That's a little bit of a challenge. Whatever this question might be, try to find an answer and learn by doing so.
Did I ask? Gary, that's a great one. Well, if you've not already, please make sure to review the show, subscribe, like, and share so that we can reach more amazing listeners like you. I mean, really, you are amazing. You're one of a kind, as Roman Atwood says, my idol. All of our shows are available in both video, audio, and written form, so make sure to check out our website at projectdreammastery.com to access the full experience. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at Project Dream Mastery. We are super duper grateful for you, and we're grateful for every moment we get to spend with you. Whether it's in the future or whether it's today, we hope that we have made an impact on your life. We hope that you take at least one thing from today and apply it to your life. We know it was deep today, and we really hope that you take some of the value out of it. We know that we're not always perfect, and we don't expect to be. We want to be in your tribe. We want to be in your circle. So take the steps, follow us, and make things a reality. Defy, dream, love. And we'll see you on the next episode of Project Dream Mastery. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.